October 25th, 1999. Orlando, Florida. The morning sun is already climbing. By 9 o'clock, the heat is thick. That humid, heavy air that makes your shirt stick to your back. Outside the private aviation terminal at Orlando International Airport, a white Learjet sits on the tarmac. Small, sleek, business jet. Registration November 47. Bravo Alpha. The sun catches the polished fuselage, makes it gleam. Inside the terminal, a man is laughing. Khaki pants, navy sweater, that distinctive flat cap. Payne Stewart. If you followed golf, you knew that face, that style. He dressed like he stepped out of the 1920s. Knickers, long socks, old school. It was his signature, made him recognizable anywhere. And in 1999, he was on top of the world. 4 months earlier, he'd won the US Open, the final putt, 15 feet. Had to make it to win. He made it. Fist pump, pure joy. That image was everywhere. Sports Illustrated, every golf magazine. America loved Payne Stewart. He's traveling to Dallas today. Business meetings, golf course design project. Nothing unusual, just another Monday. Flying commercial would mean connections, delays, crowds. So he chartered a private jet. That's what successful people do. Time is money. He's traveling with 4 others. Robert Fraley, his agent. Van Arden, another agent. Bruce Borland, golf course architect. All business associates, all friends. They arrive at the terminal around 9. Coffee, small talk, handshakes. The weather is perfect. Not a cloud. Light winds. Beautiful day for flying. The 2 pilots complete their pre-flight checks. Captain Michael Kling, 42 years old, experienced, about 4,200 total flying hours, 1,800 of those in Learjets. He's flown this route before, many times. Orlando to Dallas, simple, routine. First Officer Stephanie Bellegarrigue, 27 years old, younger, less experienced, about 1,700 total hours, 300 in Learjets, but competent, qualified. They'd flown together before, knew each other's rhythms, knew the plane, the Learjet 35, 23 years old, built in 1976, old by some standards, but well maintained, reliable. These planes were workhorses. At 9:15, the passengers board. A short walk across the tarmac, up the stairs, into the cabin. 6 leather seats, small but comfortable. Business jet luxury. Payne Stewart settles into his seat, probably reviews some papers, maybe looks out the window at the perfect sky. The pilots close the cabin door, seal it, run through their checklists, switches, gauges, radios, everything normal. At 9:19 a.m. Eastern Time, the Learjet starts to roll. Taxiing to the runway, the engines spool up. That high-pitched whine, distinctive sound of a Learjet, sharp, urgent. The control tower clears them for takeoff. November 47. Bravo Alpha, runway 17 left, cleared for takeoff. The first officer responds. Cleared for takeoff, 17 left. November 47. Bravo Alpha. The engines surge. Full power. The plane accelerates. Fast. Learjets are quick. Within seconds, the nose lifts. Rotation. Wheels leave the ground. Airborne. Climbing steeply. Banking left. Turning north. Climbing through 1,000 feet. 2,000. 3,000. The landing gear retracts. Flaps come up. The plane settles into its climb profile. Smooth. Routine. Just another departure. pilots contact Jacksonville Center. That's the air traffic control facility handling this region. Good morning, Jacksonville. November 47. Bravo Alpha is with you, climbing through 5,000 for 17,000. The controller responds. November 47. Bravo Alpha, Jacksonville Center. Radar contact. Climb and maintain flight level 230. Roger, 230. November 47, Bravo Alpha. The flight continues climbing, passing through 10,000 feet, 15,000, 20,000. The air gets thinner, colder, but inside the cabin, it should feel normal, pressurized, warm, like sitting at 8,000 feet elevation, comfortable, breathable. The passengers probably can't tell they're climbing. Maybe their ears pop slightly. That's all. At 23,000 feet, the controller gives them another clearance. November 47. Bravo Alpha, climb and maintain flight level 390. 390. That's 39,000 feet. High altitude. This is normal for a Learjet. They're designed to fly high, where the air is thin and they're fuel efficient, where they can fly above weather, above turbulence. The first officer responds. Roger. Climb and maintain 390. November 47. Bravo Alpha. Her voice is clear, professional, no stress, no concern, just routine. The Learjet continues climbing, 25,000 feet, 30,000, 35,000. At 9:27 a.m., 8 minutes after takeoff, the controller gives them a frequency change. November 47. Bravo Alpha, contact Jacksonville Center on 132.42. The first officer reads it back. 132.42. November 47. Bravo Alpha. Those are the last words anyone ever hears from that plane. The controller expects them to check in on the new frequency within a minute or two. Standard procedure. He goes back to handling other aircraft. Dozens of planes in his sector, all talking, all following instructions, all normal. But November 47, Bravo Alpha never calls. 1 minute passes, 2 minutes. The controller handling the new frequency notices. He should have heard from them by now. He tries calling. November 47. Bravo Alpha, Jacksonville. Silence. Static. He tries again. November 47. Bravo Alpha, if you read, contact Jacksonville on 132.42. Nothing. He waits another minute. Tries again. November 47. Bravo Alpha, Jacksonville Center. The radio hisses. Empty. Just carrier wave. No response. The controller looks at his radar screen. The Learjet is still there, still climbing, passing through 37,000 feet, still tracking perfectly on course, heading northwest toward Dallas. Everything looks normal, except they're not talking. He tries the previous frequency. Maybe they didn't switch over. November 47. Bravo Alpha, if you read Jacksonville, ident. Ident means push a button on the transponder. Makes the radar return flash. Confirms they can hear him, even if they can't talk. The radar blip doesn't change. No ident. No response. The controller's concern rises. Not panic. Not yet. But this isn't normal. Radios fail sometimes. But usually, pilots find a way to communicate. They switch frequencies. They use backup radios. They squawk emergency codes. Something. But November 47. Bravo Alpha is doing nothing. Just flying. Silent. At 9:33 a.m., the controller asks another aircraft in the area to try. Can you attempt contact with November 47 Bravo Alpha on this frequency? The other pilot tries. November 47. Bravo Alpha, how do you read? Nothing. The controller alerts his supervisor. We have a Learjet not responding, still on radar, still flying normal profile, but zero communication. The supervisor comes over, looks at the screen. The Learjet has leveled off now. Flight level 390, 39,000 feet. Cruising, airspeed normal, course normal, just not talking. The supervisor makes a decision. Alert the military. This is 1999, 2 years before September 11th. But there are still protocols. Aircraft that don't respond are potential threats. Could be hijacking, could be medical emergency, could be equipment failure, but you can't ignore it. The FAA contacts NORAD, North American Aerospace Defense Command. We have an aircraft not responding to communications. Need intercept. Visual confirmation. The military machinery activates. Alerts go out. Fighter jets on alert status. Pilots notified. Scramble order issued. Meanwhile, the Learjet continues northwest. Silent, climbing slightly. Now at 39,500 feet. Still perfectly on course. The autopilot is flying beautifully, precisely, maintaining heading, maintaining altitude, following its programming. But nobody is answering the radio. November 47. Bravo Alpha, Jacksonville Center. If you read this transmission, squawky dent. Nothing. The controller tries every few minutes. Same call, same silence. At Tyndall Air Force Base in Florida, an F-16 Fighting Falcon sits on the alert pad. Engines off, but ready. Can be airborne in minutes. The pilot is in the operations center when the call comes. Scramble. Intercept a civilian jet. Lost communications. Possible emergency. The pilot runs to his aircraft. Crew chiefs are already there. Opening panels. Checking systems. He climbs the ladder. Steps into the cockpit. Helmet on. Straps in. 5-point harness. Tight. The ground crew helps him. Checking connections. The canopy comes down. Seals. Now he's enclosed. Alone. Just him and the machine. He starts the engine. The F-16 single engine spools up. That distinctive sound, deeper than the Learjet, more powerful. He runs through quick checks, controls, instruments, weapons safe. He doesn't expect to use weapons. This is Intercept, visual identification. But they're always armed, just in case. Tower clears him. November 47. Bravo Alpha Heavy, cleared for takeoff. Wait, not November 47. Bravo Alpha. That's the plane he's chasing. His call sign is different. He's cleared for takeoff. He advances the throttle. The F-16 rolls. Fast. Fighter jets don't taxi slowly. He's cleared to the runway. Lines up. Full throttle. Then afterburner. The noise is incredible. Even through the helmet. Even through the canopy. A roar that shakes the air. The F-16 leaps forward. Acceleration that pushes him back into the seat. Within seconds, he's airborne. Wheels up, climbing, steep. Much steeper than any civilian jet. Almost vertical. He's given vectors. Heading. Altitude. Where to find the Learjet. He climbs through 20,000 feet. 30,000. 40,000. Up where the sky turns dark blue, almost purple, where the curvature of the Earth becomes visible, where few planes fly. He's supersonic now. Mach 1.2, covering ground fast. The controller guides him. Target is at your 12 o'clock, 40 miles. Flight level 390. The F-16 pilot checks his radar. There, a contact. Small, slow. Civilian jet speed. He closes the distance. 30 miles. 20. 10. He throttles back. Goes subsonic. No need to blast past it. He needs to get alongside. Close. Look in the windows. See what's happening. At 10 miles, he gets visual contact. There, a small white jet, Learjet, flying straight and level. No turns, no deviation, just perfectly straight. He calls it in. Visual contact. White Learjet. Course 290. Altitude 390. No apparent distress. He moves closer, carefully. Fighter jets are fast, maneuverable, but you don't want to get too close to a civilian jet. Wake turbulence, jet wash, could destabilize them. He approaches from behind and below, then slides alongside, maybe 100 feet away, then closer, 50 feet, close enough to see clearly. And that's when he sees it. The cockpit windows, they should be clear, transparent. He should see the pilots inside, their helmets, their instruments, the glow of the panel. But he doesn't. The windows are white, opaque, frosted, like a bathroom window, like someone sprayed them with white paint. Except the frost is on the inside, ice, covering the entire window from within. He radios back. Cockpit windows appear to be iced over. Cannot see inside. Cannot confirm status of crew. He moves further forward. Looks at the passenger windows. Same thing. White. Frosted. Opaque. Through the ice, maybe he can see shadows. Shapes. Could be seats. Could be people. But nothing is moving. No faces pressed to glass. No hands waving. Just frost and stillness. He tries everything. He rocks his wings. In aviation, that's a signal. Hey, look at me. Follow me. You're in trouble. The Learjet doesn't respond, doesn't turn, doesn't waver, just flies. Straight, level, perfect, like it's on rails. He flies even closer, close enough to see details. The registration number, November 47, Bravo Alpha, the Learjet logo, the rivets in the fuselage. But the windows stay white, stay frozen, and nobody looks out. The F-16 pilot has been trained for many scenarios: intercepts, hijackings, mechanical failures. But this is different. This is eerie. A plane flying perfectly, too perfectly, with frosted windows and no communication. He knows what frosted windows mean. Decompression, rapid loss of cabin pressure. At 39,000 feet, the air is so thin you can't breathe. You'd pass out in seconds. And the moisture in the air, the humidity, it would freeze instantly, coat everything, windows, walls, people. He doesn't say it over the radio, not yet, but he knows. Everyone on that plane is dead or unconscious, which is almost the same thing at this altitude. If you're unconscious at 39,000 feet, you're not waking up. Your brain needs oxygen. Without it, cells die. Fast. Minutes. Maybe less. He radios back again. No response to visual signals. Windows heavily frosted. Suspect loss of pressurization. Crew likely incapacitated. The words are clinical, professional. But what he's thinking is different. What he's thinking is that he's flying next to a tomb. A metal coffin with 6 people inside, flying on autopilot, going nowhere, going everywhere, just flying until it runs out of fuel, or crashes, or something. He stays alongside. What else can he do? He can't land the plane for them, can't break in, can't communicate. His F-16 is armed, missiles, Cannon. He could shoot it down if ordered, but nobody's giving that order. Not yet. Not for a civilian plane with American citizens aboard, even if they're already dead. So he just flies. Escort, guardian, witness. The Learjet continues northwest. The F-16 matches its speed, its altitude, its heading. 2 planes, side by side. One alive with a human pilot, one dead with an autopilot, flying together through the thin, cold air at 39,000 feet. The sun is bright up here. No clouds, no weather, just endless blue, beautiful, serene, peaceful. And inside that white Learjet, 6 people are frozen, dead or dying, while their plane flies on, unaware, uncaring, just following its programming. Maintain heading, maintain altitude, fly to Dallas, except it won't make it to Dallas. The F-16 pilot knows this. He can see the fuel situation. Learjets carry about 6 hours of fuel. This one took off at 9:19 a.m. It's now past 10:30. They've burned maybe an hour and a half of fuel. That leaves 4.5 hours. 4.5 hours of flying before the tanks run dry, before the engines quit, before gravity takes over. Another F-16 launches. Fresh pilot, full fuel. They'll rotate. One escort, while the other heads back to refuel. They can't stay up there forever, but the Learjet can, for hours, until it can't. The second F-16 arrives, takes up position on the other side. Now the Learjet has 2 escorts, 2 fighter jets, flanking it, like a funeral procession, which, in a way, it is. The first F-16 peels off, heads back to base. The second stays, watching, waiting. The Learjet crosses into Georgia airspace, then Tennessee, state after state. The air traffic controllers track it, clear the airspace around it, make sure no other planes get close, make sure this ghost doesn't collide with anything else, cause more death. The military command center is monitoring, generals, colonels, making decisions. Do we shoot it down? Not yet. Where will it crash? Unknown. The autopilot is flying a programmed route, but nobody knows what that route is. The flight plan said Dallas, but flight plans can be updated, waypoints added, courses changed. They don't know if the pilots reprogrammed anything before they lost consciousness, or if the autopilot is just following the original plan, or something else entirely. So they just watch and wait, and the Learjet flies on. On the ground, word is starting to spread. An FAA source leaks to media. A private jet is not responding. Fighter jets have been scrambled. Golf legend Payne Stewart is believed to be on board. CNN picks it up. Breaking news. A small banner at the bottom of the screen. Then a full story. Then continuous coverage. Payne Stewart's plane not responding. Military intercept underway. Status unknown. Television networks cut to the story. Radio stations break in. This is big news. Payne Stewart is famous, beloved, and his plane is in trouble. At golf courses across America, players stop, turn on televisions, watch. Tiger Woods is practicing somewhere. Someone tells him, "Have you heard about Payne?" He goes to find a TV. Phil Mickelson, the same. Golfers calling each other. "Have you heard? Is it true?" At the PGA Tour headquarters, executives gather, watching the news, trying to get information, calling contacts at the FAA, at the military. Nobody knows anything solid, just that his plane isn't responding, and fighter jets are following it, which can't be good. In Orlando, at Payne Stewart's home, someone calls his wife. Have you seen the news? Your husband's plane. She turns on the television, and her world stops. The ticker at the bottom of CNN. Learjet with Payne Stewart aboard, not responding to ATC. Fighter escort in progress. She watches. What else can she do? She can't call the plane, can't help, can't do anything but wait and hope and pray. But deep down, some part of her knows. You don't send fighter jets for a radio malfunction. You don't scramble the military unless something is very wrong. The news coverage continues. They don't have much information. Just that a Learjet departed Orlando this morning. Destination Dallas. Stopped responding shortly after takeoff. Fighter jets intercepted. Current status unknown. They show file footage of Payne Stewart winning the US Open. That iconic putt, that celebration. They interview other golfers. Everyone says the same thing. Great guy, great player, hoping for the best, but their faces show fear. In the sky over Tennessee, the Learjet continues. The F-16 pilot has been alongside for over an hour now. His fuel is getting low. Another F-16 is being scrambled to relieve him. This is going to be a long day. He looks at the Learjet, still perfect, still straight, still frosted, still silent. He wonders who's inside, if they're dead, if they knew what was happening, if they suffered, or if it was quick. Unconsciousness, then death. He hopes it was quick. He wouldn't wish suffocation on anyone. But he also knows the truth about hypoxia, oxygen starvation. It's not like suffocating. You don't gasp, don't panic, don't feel like you're drowning. You just get lightheaded, euphoric even. Your vision narrows, tunnel vision. Your thinking gets fuzzy, and you don't realize it's happening. You think you're fine, better than fine, and then you're unconscious, and then you're dead. It's almost gentle, as far as ways to die go, but it's still death, still final, still 6 people who woke up this morning expecting to go to Dallas, expecting business meetings, expecting to come home tonight, and now they're frozen at 39,000 feet, flying northwest, away from Dallas, away from home, away from everything. The F-16 pilot checks his fuel. 20 minutes until he has to leave. The relief aircraft is 10 minutes out. He'll overlap. Make sure there's always eyes on the Learjet, always someone watching. The military wants continuous surveillance, need to know where it goes, where it crashes, when it crashes, because it will crash. That's certain. The only question is where, and when, and what happens then. The Learjet passes Memphis, heads toward Missouri. The third F-16 takes up station. The previous pilot heads home, back to base, to land, refuel, and try to process what he just saw. A ghost plane, that's what they're calling it now. In the military, in the FAA, in the media, a ghost plane, flying itself, with everyone aboard dead. It sounds like fiction, like a movie, but it's real. It's happening, right now, over America. And there's nothing anyone can do but watch. The afternoon sun is high now, almost noon. The Learjet has been flying for almost 3 hours. 3 hours since the last radio call. 3 hours since anyone heard a human voice from that plane. 3 hours of silence, of frost, of death, and maybe 4 more hours to go, before the fuel runs out, before the end comes. The F-16 pilot looks at the Learjet one more time. White, clean, beautiful even, flying through the perfect blue sky. If you didn't know better, you'd think everything was fine. Just a business jet going somewhere. But nothing is fine. Nothing will ever be fine again for the families waiting on the ground, for the wife watching television, for the children who will grow up without a father, for the friends who said goodbye this morning, never expecting it to be forever. The Learjet flies on, silent, frozen, a tomb with wings, and the only sound is the whisper of air over the fuselage and the roar of the F-16 Escort, and the waiting, always the waiting, for the inevitable, for the end, for the moment when the fuel runs dry and gravity claims what's left. Inside the Learjet, time has stopped. The cabin temperature is minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit, the same as the outside air at 39,000 feet, because there is no pressurization anymore, no heated air pumping in, just the void, the cold. The bodies are frozen now, not metaphorically, literally frozen. Ice crystals on eyelashes, frost on skin, on hair, on clothes. The moisture from their last breaths has condensed on every surface. The windows, the walls, the instruments. Everything is white, coated, preserved. A snapshot of the moment they died. Except they're still flying, still moving. 500 miles per hour. Northwest, always northwest. The autopilot doesn't know its pilots are dead, doesn't care. It has instructions. Maintain heading 290. Maintain altitude 390. It does this perfectly, adjusting for wind, for weight changes as fuel burns, for tiny variations in air pressure. The autopilot is working flawlessly. It's everything else that failed. At 11 a.m. Central Time, the Learjet crosses into Iowa. Farmland below, endless fields, corn, soybeans, harvested now. October, just dirt and stubble. Small towns, populations in the hundreds. People down there going about their day. Some of them look up. They see contrails, white lines across the blue. 2 of them are fighter jets. 1 is a Learjet, flying in formation. They don't know what they're seeing. Don't know it's a funeral procession. They just see vapor trails, beautiful against the sky, and they go back to their lives. Above them, the F-16 pilot is on his second rotation. He took over from another pilot 30 minutes ago. Fresh eyes, fresh fuel, same situation. The Learjet hasn't changed, still perfect, still frozen, still silent. He tries the radio again, knows it's pointless, but protocol says, try. November 47. Bravo Alpha, this is Air Force Intercept. If you read, rock your wings. Nothing. The wings stay level. The plane flies on. He's been briefed. Knows there are 6 people on board. Knows one of them is famous. Payne Stewart, golf champion. He's not a golf fan, doesn't follow the sport, but even he knows the name, knows the face, the outfit, and now that person is dead, 10 feet away, separated by frost and metal and the absolute finality of death. On the ground, the news coverage has become constant. Every network, CNN, Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS, all of them, continuous updates, even though there's nothing new to report. The Learjet is still flying, still not responding, still being escorted by fighter jets. That's all anyone knows. But America is watching. Millions of people, glued to their televisions, watching radar tracks, watching file footage of Payne Stewart, waiting for news, any news. The anchors fill time. They interview aviation experts who speculate. Could be mechanical failure, could be decompression, Could be medical emergency, could be hijacking. Nobody knows. The experts explain how autopilots work, how planes can fly themselves, how military intercepts happen. They show maps, draw lines showing the Learjet's path, from Orlando, through Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, now Iowa, heading northwest. Toward where? Nobody knows. The flight plan said Dallas, but the plane passed Dallas hours ago. Didn't descend, didn't turn, just kept flying. So either the autopilot has additional waypoints programmed, or something else is going on. The experts don't say what everyone is thinking, that everyone on board is probably already dead. At Payne Stewart's home in Orlando, the house has filled with people, family, friends, fellow golfers. His wife sits in front of the television, hasn't moved in hours. People bring her water, tea. She doesn't drink, just watches. The children are being kept away, downstairs, with relatives. They know something is wrong, but not what, not yet. How do you tell children their father might be dead, might be frozen at 39,000 feet in a plane that won't stop flying? You don't, not yet, not until you're sure. But she's sure, has been for hours, since she saw the news, since she heard fighter jets scrambled. You don't scramble fighter jets for a radio problem. You scramble them for disasters, for hijackings, for crashes about to happen. She knows her husband is dead, knows it with certainty, but some small part of her hopes. Maybe it's just equipment failure. Maybe they're alive but can't communicate. Maybe the military will figure something out. Guide them down remotely. Land them somehow. Save them. But she knows. Deep down, she knows. The television shows the radar track, a small dot moving across the screen, heading northwest, away from Dallas, away from home, away from her. And she watches, because what else can she do? At the PGA Tour headquarters, they're making decisions. Cancel tomorrow's tournament, pause play. The tour commissioner is on the phone, with officials, with television networks, with sponsors. Nobody knows what to do. How do you golf when one of your champions might be dying, might already be dead? They decide to wait, see what happens. If the plane lands safely, resume as normal. If it crashes, they'll cross that bridge. But everyone knows. Nobody says it, but everyone knows. Tiger Woods is at home now, watching the news. He's supposed to practice, tournament this week, but he can't focus, keeps thinking about Payne. They weren't best friends, different generations, different styles, but Payne was always kind to him, always encouraging. After Tiger won his first major, Payne called, congratulated him, told him to stay humble, stay hungry. That was Payne, generous, thoughtful, and now his plane is flying across America with fighter jets chasing it. Tiger watches the television, the radar dot, moving slowly across the map, and he prays. Not a religious man usually, but today he prays. At 1200 noon Central Time, the Learjet crosses into South Dakota. 4 hours since takeoff. 4 hours since the last radio transmission. The plane has traveled over 2,000 miles, from Florida to South Dakota, across half the country. And it's still flying, still perfect, still silent. The F-16 pilot on station radios in. Aircraft crossing into South Dakota. Continuing northwest. No change in status. The military command center acknowledges they've been calculating fuel consumption, time remaining, distance. The Learjet took off with full tanks, about 6,000 pounds of fuel, burns about 400 pounds per hour. Simple math. Took off at 9:19 a.m. Central. Full fuel means approximately 6 hours flight time. That puts fuel exhaustion at about 3:20 p.m. Maybe 3:30 if they're lucky. It's now noon. That means 2.5 more hours. 2.5 more hours of this ghost flying across America. 2.5 more hours of watching, waiting, knowing how it ends, powerless to stop it. The question now is where? Where will it be when the fuel runs out? The computers model it. Current heading, current speed, current rate of fuel burn. The projection shows South Dakota, western South Dakota, near the Montana border, rural area, low population. If it has to crash, that's about as good as it gets. Open farmland, no cities, no crowds, just fields and prairie. The decision is made. Do not shoot it down. Let it fly until the fuel runs out. Then let it crash wherever it crashes. Alert emergency services in the projected area. Clear the airspace and watch. The military brass don't like this decision. Too many unknowns. What if the projection is wrong? What if it turns? What if it heads toward a city? But orders are orders. No engagement unless it poses immediate threat to populated area. So they watch. The F-16 pilots rotate again. Fourth pilot now, taking up station alongside the Learjet. He's been briefed, knows the situation. Still, seeing it is different. He pulls alongside, looks at the frosted windows, the perfect flight profile, the silence, and something in his chest tightens. He's a fighter pilot, trained to kill, trained to destroy. But this isn't combat. This is a vigil. He's not here to shoot down an enemy. He's here to bear witness, to make sure this plane doesn't die alone. That sounds stupid. He knows it. A plane can't die. It's metal, mechanical. But the people inside, they were alive once, this morning, hours ago, and now they're not. And he's here to make sure someone sees, someone marks their passing, someone remembers. At 1 p.m., the afternoon sun is high. The sky is that deep, endless blue you only get in October. Crisp, clear, cold. The Learjet continues northwest, crossing over the Black Hills. Hills isn't really accurate. They're mountains, pine-covered, rocky. Mount Rushmore is down there somewhere. 4 presidents carved in stone, looking up at a plane full of the dead. The F-16 pilot can see the terrain. Hills, forests, scattered ranches. This is the West. Big sky country. Empty. Beautiful. Harsh. Good place to crash if you have to crash. Better than a city. Better than a neighborhood. Better than a school. The Learjet's shadow passes over the hills. A dark cross on the ground. Moving fast. Heading northwest. Always northwest. Inside the plane, nothing has changed. The bodies are still frozen. The frost is still thick on every surface. The instruments still glow. The autopilot still functions. But the fuel gauges are dropping. Slowly, steadily, inexorably. Each minute that passes is fuel burned. Fuel that won't come back. The tanks are getting lighter. The plane is getting lighter, but not light enough to fly forever. Physics doesn't care about tragedy. Fuel runs out. Engines stop. Lift disappears. Gravity wins. Always. At 2 p.m., the news coverage shows fatigue. The anchors have been talking for hours, saying the same things. speculating, filling air, but there's nothing new to report. The plane is still flying, still silent, still doomed. Some stations cut away, return to regular programming, but CNN stays, Fox News stays, the news networks. They know this is history. However it ends, this is a story people will remember. A ghost plane, a famous golfer, fighter jets escort, 4 hours of silent flight across America. This is unprecedented, surreal, tragic. They stay on it. The radar track shows the Learjet approaching the western edge of South Dakota, near the Montana border. The fuel calculations are updated. 30 minutes, maybe 40. That's all that's left. 30 minutes until the engines quit, until the plane becomes a glider, until physics takes over. The anchors start preparing their audiences. Warn them. The plane will likely crash soon. Emergency crews are standing by. But at 39,000 feet, at 500 miles per hour, there are no survivors. Won't be. Can't be. The end is coming. Everyone knows it. But America keeps watching. Can't look away. Like a car crash. But slower. Much slower. 4 hours of watching a crash in slow motion. At 2:30 p.m., the F-16 pilot on station notices something. A change. Subtle. The Learjet's nose drops, just slightly, maybe a degree. He watches. The autopilot corrects, pitches back up, adds power. The nose comes back level. But a minute later, it happens again. Nose drops. Autopilot corrects. This is it. Fuel getting low. Not enough pressure. Engines not getting full power. The autopilot is trying, fighting, but fuel starvation is starting. He radios in. Aircraft appears to be experiencing fuel exhaustion. Altitude beginning to decay. The command center acknowledges. Alert emergency services. Final approach. He watches the Learjet. Feels strange, like watching someone die, knowing it's coming, wanting to help, unable to. The nose drops again, steeper this time. The autopilot adds full power, but the engines don't respond. Not enough fuel. The altitude starts to decrease. 39,000 feet, 38,800, 38,500. Still flying, still trying, but losing. At 2:44 p.m., the right engine quits, just stops. The exhaust temperature drops. The turbine slows. Windmilling now. Not producing power, just drag. The Learjet yaws to the right. The autopilot compensates, uses the rudder, but it can't maintain altitude on one engine. Not at this weight, not at this altitude. The descent steepens. 38,000 feet, 37,500, 37,000. Falling now, not flying, falling. At 2:46 p.m., the left engine quits. Both engines dead. No power, no thrust. The autopilot tries, but there's nothing to work with. No air over the control surfaces, no hydraulic pressure, no electrical power from the generators. The batteries take over. Emergency power. Enough for the instruments, the autopilot, but not for long. The nose drops. Steep now. 30 degrees, 40 degrees. The Learjet is falling. Fast. The F-16 pilot follows, descending with it. He calls it in. Both engines flamed out. Aircraft in uncontrolled descent. He watches. The Learjet starts to spin. Slowly at first, then faster. Aerodynamic forces. The design wants to spin. Most aircraft do when they stall. The spin tightens. The nose drops steeper. Now it's not falling, it's diving, spiraling. The air rushing past the fuselage screams, but nobody inside can hear it. They died hours ago. This is just physics now. Gravity, momentum, the final act. The Learjet spins, descends, accelerates, passing through 30,000 feet, 25,000, 20,000. The F-16 pilot pulls back, can't follow all the way down. Too dangerous, low altitude, high speed. He levels off at 15,000 feet, circles, watching. The Learjet is a white speck now, spinning, falling, heading for the ground. On the ground near Mena, South Dakota, a farmer is working in his barn. Small town, tiny, maybe 500 people, middle of nowhere. He hears something, a sound, strange, like wind, but louder, screaming. He steps outside, looks up, and he sees it. A white jet, spinning, falling, straight down. He watches, can't do anything else, just watches. The plane is coming down fast, too fast. He knows what's going to happen, covers his ears. The impact is enormous. Not a crash, an explosion of speed and metal and dirt. The sound is like thunder, but sharper, closer. The ground shakes, his barn shakes, windows rattle, then silence. He stands there, frozen, trying to process what he just saw. Then he runs, inside, grabs his phone, calls 911. A plane just crashed, big jet, in a field about half a mile east of my place. You need to send everyone. The 911 dispatcher asks questions. Are there survivors? He thinks about what he saw, the speed, the impact. No, he says, no survivors. Nobody could survive that. Send everyone anyway, but nobody survived. The dispatcher alerts emergency services, sheriff, fire department, ambulances, highway patrol, all converging on Mena, South Dakota. Population 500, about to become the center of the world's attention. The F-16 pilot circles the crash site. He can see the wreckage from altitude, a black scar on brown earth, debris scattered, no fire, no smoke, because there's no fuel left to burn. That's why it crashed. Fuel exhaustion, nothing left to ignite. He radios in, aircraft down, approximately 3 miles northeast of Mena, South Dakota. Appears to be total loss, no signs of life. Then he climbs, heads back to base. His fuel is low. Nothing more he can do. His part is over. He escorted a dead plane for 2 hours, watched it fall, watched it die, and now he leaves, back to his base, to land, to file a report, to try to forget the frosted windows, the perfect, silent flight, the fall. Some things stay with you. This will stay with him. On the ground, the first responders arrive within minutes. Sheriff's deputies, fire trucks, ambulances. They approach the crash site carefully. Don't know if there's danger, fuel, fire, hazardous materials, but there's nothing. Just wreckage, scattered across maybe 1,000 feet. Some pieces recognizable. A wing, the tail. Most pieces are not. Just twisted metal, shredded aluminum. They find the crater, impact point, maybe 10 feet deep, 40 feet across. The plane hit at over 600 miles per hour, near supersonic. At that speed, at that angle, nothing survives. Not the plane, not the people. The responders search for survivors anyway. Training says always search, always check. But they know. They've seen the wreckage, the crater. Nobody walked away from this. Nobody could have. They find remains, bodies, parts of bodies. I won't describe it. Don't need to. Use your imagination. Or don't. Better if you don't. The important thing is, they find 6 people, confirm 6 fatalities. Payne Stewart, his agents, the pilots, all gone, all killed. probably killed hours ago by hypoxia, but officially killed now, by impact, by physics, by the ground. The FAA is notified. The NTSB is notified. Investigators are dispatched. By that evening, the first team arrives. The scene is secured. Yellow tape, guards. Nobody in or out without authorization. The investigation begins. It will take months, but piece by piece, they will figure out what happened. Why everyone died. Why a routine flight became a ghost flight. Why 6 people never made it to Dallas. The news breaks within minutes of the crash. CNN first. Breaking news. The Learjet carrying Payne Stewart has crashed. All aboard feared dead. Then every network, every station. The radar track is shown. The final minutes. The descent. The impact. Then the news everyone dreaded but expected. Confirmed. Payne Stewart is dead. All 6 people on board killed. At his home in Orlando, his wife hears the news. Even though she knew, even though she'd known for hours, hearing it is different. Confirmed dead. Final. No more hoping. No more maybe. Just dead. She collapses. Family catches her, holds her. The children are told, "Your father is gone." They cry. They don't understand. How can he be gone? He was just here this morning. Kissed them goodbye. Said, "See you tonight." How can he be gone? But he is. At golf courses across America, the news hits hard. Players crying, coaches crying, fans crying. Payne Stewart was 42 years old, at the peak of his career, at the peak of his life, had so much more to give, so many more tournaments, so many more years, and now he's dead, in a field in South Dakota, scattered in pieces, gone. Tiger Woods hears the news, turns off the television, sits in silence. Phil Mickelson the same. The entire golf world is in mourning. The PGA Tour cancels the next day's tournament. Can't play. Not now. Not after this. They'll resume later, when the shock fades, when the grief eases, but not now. Now they just mourn. The investigation takes months. NTSB investigators work the crash site, recovering pieces, cataloging them, photographing everything. They find the black boxes, cockpit voice recorder, flight data recorder, both damaged but readable. The cockpit voice recorder is revealing and haunting. It captures the takeoff, the climb, normal conversation between the pilots, checklists, procedures, everything routine. Then, at 9:33 a.m., something changes. You can hear it, a sound, a horn, warning horn, cabin altitude warning. It means the cabin pressure is getting too high. The air is getting thin. You need to do something. Put on oxygen masks. Descend. Something. One of the pilots says something. The audio is poor, distorted. Investigators enhance it, clean it up. They think the captain says, "What's that?" Or maybe, "Check that." And then, within seconds, nothing. Just the horn, blaring. Then even the horn stops, because nobody silenced it. It ran its cycle, and then silence. Just the sound of the engines, the air conditioning, the autopilot servos. No breathing, no talking, no life. The recorder runs for 30 minutes, capturing nothing, because everyone is already unconscious, already dying. The flight data recorder tells more, shows the cabin altitude rising, 8,000 feet, 9,000, 10,000, then rapidly to 30,000 feet, then 39,000. The same as outside, no pressurization. The pilots would have had maybe 30 seconds of useful consciousness, maybe less. Not enough time to diagnose the problem. Put on masks, respond. Just enough time to feel confused, lightheaded, and then nothing. The investigators focus on why. Why did the cabin lose pressure? They examine the wreckage, looking for clues. They find the pressurization system, or what's left of it. Jets pressurize the cabin using air from the engines. Compressed air, bleed air. It's bled off the engines, heated and pumped into the cabin. Valves control the flow. The investigators find the left engine's bleed air valve in the wreckage, disassembled. They examine it closely, under microscopes, and they find the problem. The valve is jammed, stuck, in the closed position, metal particles inside. The valve had been wearing out, degrading, creating metal debris. That debris jammed the valve, stuck it closed, no air flowing. Now a Learjet has two engines, two bleed air valves. If one fails, the other should compensate, should provide enough air. But at 39,000 feet, one valve isn't enough. Not enough volume. The cabin altitude would rise, slowly at first, then faster. The warning horn would sound. The pilots should have responded, put on masks, descended, but they didn't. Why? The investigators review everything: training records, medical records, maintenance logs, and they find clues. The plane had a history, previous pressurization issues, maintenance write-ups, problems reported, but never fully resolved. The valve was failing, gradually, over weeks, maybe months, intermittent problems, but nothing severe enough to ground the plane, nothing obvious enough to replace the valve, until October 25th, when it failed completely. The NTSB's final report is clear. The probable cause was incapacitation of the flight crew members due to their failure to receive supplemental oxygen following a loss of cabin pressurization for undetermined reasons. But they know the reason: the bleed air valve, stuck closed, no air, no pressure, and the pilots didn't respond fast enough. Why? Hypoxia. At 39,000 feet, hypoxia happens fast. Your brain needs oxygen, lots of it. Takes about 20% of your body's oxygen. When that drops, your brain shuts down, fast. But here's the thing about hypoxia. It's sneaky. You don't feel like you're suffocating. Don't gasp, don't panic. You feel fine, maybe a little lightheaded, maybe a bit euphoric. Your thinking gets fuzzy, but you don't realize it. You think you're functioning normally. There are experiments, studies. They put pilots in altitude chambers, reduce the oxygen slowly, ask them to perform tasks, simple math, writing their names. The pilots fail, but they don't realize they're failing. They think they're doing great. One pilot was asked to keep writing his name as oxygen dropped. His handwriting degraded. Big loopy letters, then scribbles, then just marks on paper. But he thought he was writing perfectly. That's hypoxia. Your brain lies to you, tells you everything is fine, even as you're dying. The investigators believe that's what happened to Payne Stewart's pilots. The cabin altitude warning sounded. They heard it, saw the gauge, but instead of immediately putting on masks, they tried to diagnose the problem, figure out what was wrong. By the time they realized they needed oxygen, they were too impaired to act. Hands didn't work right, coordination gone, thinking confused, and within seconds, unconscious. In the back, Payne Stewart and the others. They probably didn't even know something was wrong. Maybe felt a little strange, a little tired, and then unconscious, then dead. No pain, no terror, no long fall knowing you're going to die, just hypoxia. just sleep. And that's a mercy, small mercy, but mercy nonetheless. The NTSB issues recommendations: inspect bleed air valves more frequently, improve cabin altitude warnings, make them louder, more insistent, impossible to ignore. Require better training on hypoxia recognition, on emergency procedures, on putting masks on first, always first, before anything else. Some recommendations are implemented, some aren't. That's aviation safety, written in blood. Changes come after disasters, after people die, not before, never before. There's a memorial service in Orlando. Thousands attend. Fellow golfers, fans, friends, family. The church is packed. Overflow crowds outside. Television cameras. The service is broadcast live. His wife speaks, through tears, about Payne, about his love, his faith, his joy, about how he made everyone around him better, happier, more alive, about how he loved his children, his family, golf, life, about how he was taken too soon, too young, too suddenly, but about how he's in a better place now, with God, at peace. The golfers speak, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, others. They share stories about Payne's generosity, his humor, his mentorship, about how he was more than a champion, more than a golfer. He was a friend, a teacher, a light. And now that light is gone. The service ends. They bury him, or what's left of him, in Orlando, near his home, near his family. A headstone, simple, elegant. His name, his dates, 1957 to 1999. 42 years. Not enough, never enough. People visit, leave flowers, golf balls, notes, remembering, always remembering. The Learjet wreckage is removed from the South Dakota field, trucked away to a hangar, where investigators continue their work. Months of analysis, reports, findings. Eventually, it's released. The pieces are scrapped, melted down, recycled. The crater fills in. The field is replanted. Within a year, you can barely tell anything happened there. Just a memorial marker, small, metal plaque, lists the names of the 6 people who died: Payne Stewart, Michael Kling, Stephanie Bellegarigue, Robert Fraley, Van Arden, Bruce Borland. 6 names, 6 people, gone. The sky above South Dakota is the same sky the Learjet fell through. Same blue, same clouds, same wind. Jets still fly over. Every day, contrails across the sky. Most land safely. Most people never think about what happened here. Don't know, don't remember, but some do. Aviation people, safety investigators, pilots, they remember. They study this crash, learn from it, try to prevent it from happening again. And mostly, they succeed. Mostly. But not always. Because aviation is complex, and humans are fallible, and machines break, and sometimes, despite everything, people die, in pieces, in fields, in places they never meant to be. So what's the lesson? What do we take from this? That life is fragile? We know that. That accidents happen? We know that too. That technology fails? Obviously. Maybe the lesson is simpler. Maybe it's this. Every time you say goodbye, it might be the last goodbye. Every time you kiss someone, it might be the last kiss. Every morning you wake up might be your last morning. Not to be morbid, not to be dark, just true. Payne Stewart woke up on October 25th, 1999, expecting a normal day. Business trip, meetings, home by evening. He kissed his wife, hugged his children. See you tonight. And he meant it, believed it, had no reason not to. But he never came home. never saw them again, never kissed them again, because a valve failed, because hypoxia is sneaky, because autopilots fly perfectly even when everyone is dead, because physics doesn't care, because gravity always wins, because life is fragile and brief and precious, and we never know when it ends. That's the lesson. That's what November 47, Bravo Alpha teaches us. From its takeoff in Orlando, its silent flight across America, its frosted windows and frozen passengers, its 4-hour vigil, its fall, its impact, its end. Life is precious. Tell the people you love that you love them. Today, now, because tomorrow might not come. Tomorrow might be a ghost plane, might be a field in South Dakota, might be a memorial service, might be nothing at all. Payne Stewart was a champion, a golfer, a husband, a father, a friend. He won tournaments, made people laugh, lived fully, and on October 25th, 1999, he died at 39,000 feet, in silence, in cold, in sleep. He never knew, never suffered, never said goodbye, just flew across America, a ghost, until the fuel ran out, and he fell, and became memory, became lesson, became warning, became this story, the ghost plane. November 47, Bravo Alpha, flying forever in our collective memory. A white Learjet, frosted windows, silent, perfect, doomed, flying across blue sky, escorted by fighters, watched by millions. A funeral procession at 39,000 feet, a tragedy in slow motion. 4 hours of watching death approach, knowing, unable to stop it, unable to change it, just watching, waiting, witnessing, until the end came, as it always does, as it always will, for all of us, eventually. The only question is when, and where, and whether anyone will remember. Payne Stewart is remembered, will always be remembered, not just for how he died, but for how he lived, with joy, with faith, with love. That's his legacy, not the crash, not the ghost plane, not the frozen windows or the fall, but the life before, the championship, the smile, the kindness. That's what endures, that's what matters. The rest is just physics, just metal and fuel and gravity, just the end. But the life was beautiful and brief and precious, like all lives, like yours, like mine, like everyone who wakes up tomorrow expecting to see tomorrow night. Most will, some won't. We never know which we are, until we are, until the valve fails, until the frost forms, until the fuel runs out, until we fall. But until then, we fly, we live, we love. We say goodbye every morning and pray it's not the last time. And usually it isn't. Usually we come home. Usually, but not always. Not for Payne Stewart, not on October 25th, 1999. Not from November 47, Bravo Alpha. Not from the ghost plane that flew across America, silent, frozen, doomed, beautiful, tragic, unforgettable, forever.